Hi, everybody. So, this is me and Andrew's sustainable aquatics tour down in Knoxville, Tennessee. After seeing this, these guys have to be probably the largest clownfish breeder in the world.
Yeah, they had tons of one-of-a-kind clowns of all different breeds.
Yeah, they were way bigger of a facility than we actually had in mind.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the mass and the spectrum of the amount of fish they had here.
But yeah, this is their water mixing station. Those two giant canisters there, that's their RO units.
He talked about how many thousands of gallons a day he goes through.
Yeah, they're feeding these clownfish probably at least 4 or 5 times a day, just to keep everything well fed, keep the babies growing.
Which means lots of water changes.
Lots and lots of water changes.
Here's the Fido and some of the rotifers they were culturing there. You can see they're probably 7-8 foot long, just bags.
Yeah, plastic bags in these metal cages.
But you can see the different strains based off of the consistency of the color and how concentrated they were. But these vats were massive.
Yeah, so this was all the phytoplankton room, and then this room is dedicated to rotifers. So newborn clownfish, you actually feed them rotifers for the first few days. And to feed the rotifers, you need phytoplankton. So they had a phytoplankton room and a rotifer room.
And here's their yellow tang pond. There was 42 wild yellow tangs they got in right when the ban happened. This was probably a 5,000 gallon pond or so they were in. It was pretty good size.
Yeah, I mean, probably 12 foot by 6 foot maybe.
Yeah, it was. There's a lot of room in there to say the least. But they had the 42 yellows. They had a pair of queen angels, the big batfish you see swimming there, and then a naso tang. But these guys are actively spawning, and he's working on getting the raising down of the fry.
Yeah, they were breeding a ton of different fish, not just clowns. But that's the issue with oceanic fish is raising the larvae because they go through a plankton stage, where in the wild they're free floating on ocean currents. I mean, thousands, hundreds of miles. So that's the hard part to replicate. You can get the fish to spawn, but getting them to live is another story.
Here's the axolotl room. They had just started this room, and we were figuring it wasn't going to be much, and we were pleasantly surprised at how many they had. All different varieties. I was really surprised at the vast difference in them.
Yeah, he told us, we just started with axolotls, and they showed us an entire room, wall to wall, of axolotls. These are all breeding adults.
Different sizes, different colors, different patterns.
Yeah, and then you can just see like huge nests of eggs everywhere. Axolotls are one that's really easy to breed, and it's really easy to breed numbers of them. So they have tons and tons of axolotls, and we're starting to carry more and more.
But like you see there, like with the purple gills, this one's a really different
mosaic. Yeah,
mosaic. Yeah, just don't see that very often.
That's kind of a one-of-a-kind trait. I believe the genetics on that don't pass down.
Yeah, he was telling us he was working on getting that figured out of what genetics actually pass along and what do not. So he's got more in this than just breeding them and mass producing them. He's definitely got a lot of good science behind it, figuring out what works, what doesn't, and the genetics behind it.
Yeah, and we're still going down this wall of just such unique axolotls. There was an L shape in this room, and it was just
three deep, three tall. Cute little guy there.
Yeah, I love the blue gills that this guy had and the black eyes. Here's another mosaic, a gold and a, I guess, melanistic.
But there's definitely a lot of different types, colors, sizes. As you can see, the gills are different on that.
But yes, what we were here for was definitely the clownfish. All these black Rubbermaid tubs, these are their future yellow tang growouts. But I can't get over the scale of this place.
It was a lot bigger than what we were thinking it was going to be. And you can see the swarm of clowns. This was just about every single room. Every single tank was just jam-packed full.
Yeah, the scale of it. I mean, we probably went through, I don't even know, maybe 4 buildings, I think.
Yeah.
And it was probably 3 or 4 floors, and every square foot was covered in clownfish.
There were closets that had a dozen breeders in it. There was, every square inch of the room was either an aisleway or tank space for breeders or raising the fry into babies, and swarms of them, literally.
Yeah, and you can see a lot of these aren't cheap clowns either. There was a tank full of storms there.
Here's some babies.
Yeah, these are 2-day-old, so this is where they're like really crushing those rotifers.
And you can see they got the green water in there, so they got the rots in there with the phytoplankton, so they can all have a meal.
But yeah, this wall was all their newly hatched clowns.
But it was cool because they all had little stickers on them that showed what they were, when they were born, and all of the information on it. So even though it was a little chaotic of everything, it was very well organized.
Yeah, even some of their older pairs, you could see like this one was from 2010, 2008.
And they all had stories to them. This is where they came from, or who they got them from, or whatever their fun story was. Each one of them had a story and had a card associating that.
Yeah, it was very controlled chaos here. Everything was extremely scientific, all written out. I mean, every tank was labeled, and then it had a chart that would go along with it, constant water tests. But also, it's just a random jumble of clowns growing out in some of these tanks. You can see there mochas, storms.
These are all just the fry from what they raised, but he was telling us they have close to 400 pairs of breeding clowns actively breeding in their facility.
Yeah, and those 400 pairs are probably having 400 babies twice a month.
Twice a month, every 10 days or so. Yeah, if they're happy. So you do the math on that, 400 pairs times 400 twice a month. There's Matt and Amy there. Those are the owners of Sustainable.
Yeah, they were nice enough to really show us everything. They also breed sharks. That was something that really impressed us.
Those are all their little mermaid's purses with the shark eggs. You can see the shark right there wiggling around. But all of our white spot bamboo cat sharks come from those guys. They're 2 to 3 months old when we get them, but
yeah, they probably hatched in this tank, the ones we carry.
Yeah, that's it was really cool to see where we get a lot of the good stuff from, and just how meticulous they are in taking care of them before we get a hold of them.
Yeah, and that's kind of the future of the hobby, is definitely going this way to sustainable captive bred stuff, and it really does increase the health of the fish.
Well, and they're so much easier too. You get them, they're eating well, and
yeah, they're used to, they see a person and they know that means food. The sharks, I can't get over how easy the captive bred sharks are to keep.
This is the pond here with they've got 5 short-tailed nurse sharks in that back there, but as you can see here, there's more clowns in this same room. There's sharks, there's clowns, there's eggs. Every inch that they could use in these rooms were filled with something that they put to good use.
Yeah, most of the buildings were built as fallout shelters, so every floor is like load bearing, where they can put as much water as they want, really. So it was 3 or 4 floors of just aquariums.
Those clowns there were actually literally in a closet with about a dozen other clowns and just hanging out.
Yeah, they really have blown up with the longfin clowns as well.
They had the original longfin clown, the first one that ever was.
Yeah, I believe there's a clip coming up of him. But yeah, this is just some of the other crazies, like how bright red, orange that one is.
But they had all kinds of different, you see a storm there, but just the amount of different pairs, a big old gold stripe maroon
beautiful, there. Yeah, beautiful, the yellow on him.
But the different pairs that they had that were mixed together, gigantic nest back there. There's probably 1,000 eggs there.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see the difference in what they put together to sometimes just see what they get a hold of. And obviously when they know what they're looking for, they can kind of genetically pair it up. But there's another one doing
you can see the nest, yeah, just thousands of eggs.
And it was row after row, tank after tank of breeding pairs. Most of them had eggs or had just laid them.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, these breeding clownfish, the ones they are actually reproducing, are probably some of the highest quality clowns.
They were nice. The patterns were good. The colors were crisp. There was a lot of neatness there. You can see the male and female doing there.
Yeah, I believe these ones we did actually see some actively laying eggs while we were there.
Yeah, you see her laying. One. Yeah.
Cleaning the nest, and right there, yeah, dropping eggs.
Yeah, and then he'll come behind and fertilize. What we got here? Chocolate naked mocha there.
That crazy how the solid black with the orange belly.
But this was a cool part was seeing the amount of different clowns they had that were paired up. That, I mean, just
this is
name it, it was there.
This is just one floor. Every side room you look, it's just wall to wall aquariums. Every little closet.
They were efficient with space.
Yeah. So this is a very ugly longfin, but that's because he's the first ever.
The OG.
Yeah. So all the longfin clowns we have in the hobby pretty much came from this little male. And he's probably close to 20, 25 years old.
Yeah. But that was also the cool part, was seeing how many pairs they had that were decades old, not just, 2, 3, 4 years old, like a lot of people like to think that, oh, I got them living this long. They were decades old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the oldest clowns I've heard were 40.
Yeah.
So everyone's always like concerned with how long does it live, and it's like, well, if you don't kill it, it won't die.
Yeah, he had several pairs in there that were from the early 2000s or late 90s.
Yeah. So this one here, this is something I had never seen in my life. So apparently the long fin trait actually sometimes affects the fish's teeth as well. So he has long fin teeth.
But the cool part about that was he was very concerned with if the health gets in the way and they can't eat anymore.
They're no longer breeders. Yeah, they're no longer breeding those fish if there is a health concern.
Beautiful pattern on these gold thunders. That's a lightning and a gold stripe mixed. But interesting part there is as they get older, that lightning pattern goes away.
So these here are yellow belly blue tangs, which is like a rarer strain of the blue tangs. Do you know what ocean they're from?
Comes from the Red Sea.
They are Red Sea. Okay.
Yeah. But there are a dozen of them?
At least, yeah. And they're breeding those too in this giant warehouse of a room here.
Yeah, here's some more of those long fins with a little bit of a big lip syndrome to them.
Crazy looking teeth. Yeah, I love unique fish, and I'd never seen anything like this, so
I wasn't a big longfin fan, and then you go there and see just how beautiful and flowy they are.
When you see the mature longfins, I totally understand.
It really won me over.
Yeah, not the little tattered ones that you see. But yeah, so yeah, they're breeding these yellow belly blue tangs. There's also a pair of black tangs.
There you go, down the bottom right side.
And this is 9 feet looking down, 9 feet to the bottom of this, where those pipes are.
So we would walk up and look over, and then they'd all swim to the top and realize we didn't have any food. And then they'd go back to the bottom, and then we'd kind of look up. And
yeah, we had to walk up a deck to get to this viewing platform.
And I thought we were just walking up to see that, and he was like, no, look down in there. There's mango. Every bit of 16, 18 inches.
I would say 18 inches, yeah. Dogface puffer, gold dogface.
Passer angels, they're breeding those guys too. So that was a cool part, was seeing not just the clowns, but how many other projects were going on really to be sustainable for the hobby.
Yeah, that was absolutely the most impressive was the different angels that they had. These are their grow out gold flakes, I believe.
Yeah. Trying to get those breeding again. We talked about the flame angels that he's done in the past, but their larval raising stage was a lot longer, so try to convince him to do that again. But it was just literally tank after tank of everything. I mean, look how beautiful these are, and if we can figure out, I shouldn't say we, if he can figure out how to feed the babies, he's got so many pairs that we're breeding of different species that we have a gold mine there that for the hobby.
Yeah, and that's the big difference too, is in the ocean, when you're collecting a fish from the ocean, the fish might spawn, but it might have 1 or 2 babies survive to adulthood. In captivity, I mean, the numbers are, you can have 80, 90% of the babies survive. So
just so much more controlled and target their feeding. But this was another cool aspect they had. These are, they call them their sustainable islands fish. But these are wild fish that they bring in sustainably. And they treat them and medicate and feed well while they're there. But
so yeah, they're pre-quarantined at the wholesaler, which is something really no other company I don't know that is doing.
No. But that was it was cool to see all the different ones there that they do bring in.
So this was absolutely my favorite part of the entire tour. So these are their grow out marbled cat sharks. But if you saw there for a second, underneath a lot of these rack systems, they would just have a shark pond. They're working with, I believe, 4 or 5 species of sharks to actually get breeding adults. Here's the horn sharks. Those engineer gobies in that last tank, they're actually working on breeding engineer gobies as well.
But yeah, it was cool that every usable space they used. And here's underneath that system. It's a additional filter, more space for the sharks to grow out.
Yeah, so these are some of those white spotted bamboos. And they also had epaulet sharks in here. But yeah, these are the ones that were laying those eggs that we end up buying our baby white spot bamboo sharks from.
Yeah, they had at least 4, may have even had 6 different species. But you see the coral cats there, the short-tailed nurse shark.
Yeah, so these are their grow-out short-tailed nurse sharks that'll then go into the pond with the other adults. And these are actually one where you are probably going to get a pair for this store.
We got our name on a pair.
Yep.
This stingray here, no joke. Amy dropped some pellets in there, and that stingray just snacked up a handful of pellets.
And little tiny pellets too, like you would feed a clownfish.
Never seen a stingray eat pellets before. But that was the cool part, was just there was so much there that we saw. And obviously you'll see here coming up soon, we're going to kind of mimic this idea for a shark pond here at the store. So we can have some of these horn sharks and some of the other cool things that we can put down there that have the space to do it.
Yeah, seeing how simple it can be to set up just a small pond like this, I mean, on our existing system, is definitely an awesome trick to the hobby to kind of keep these larger fish and keep them happy and successfully.
Well, just like this, it's adding water volume to the system. They've got a lot of floor space to zoom around there. You see a bunch of butterflies. He said they're great at keeping the aptasia under control in those areas, but just really had it down to a science and was very free and open.
Yeah, it was amazing to see. I mean, this is years and years of trial and error to get this facility down like this.
Yeah, but that was the cool part for me, that there really were no secrets, and everything that we had a question on, he was very helpful with to answer so that we could have as much success as they did.
Yeah, you can see one of the epaulette sharks there. They're just starting to breed those.
Lots of neatness in the works that hopefully we'll be bringing up our way and have here available at the store for you in the near future. There's the gray bamboo sharks there.
And here's red rhinopius. This was in their sustainable island fish. Always cool to see rhinopius, especially one so pretty.
They were good looking. There's the engineered gobies.
That swarm of engineered gobies is so crazy to see like that.
You just don't see them with their adult patterning.
Not too often, yeah, unless it's a huge trade-in that someone brings in.
Again, more clowns. Literally, every time we turned around.
This is just one room on one floor. It was room after room, building after building of this.
And here's where they kind of just said, here's the net, here's a cup, and go pick out your favorites. This was the hardest part for me, being a clownfish lover, was going, okay, I can't spend $50,000 in clowns.
But we really wanted to.
What are we going to get? But we ended up spending about 4 hours there, and they quote-unquote closed at 6, but we were there until about 6:45 because, well, we just couldn't keep our hands out of the tank catching some sweet clowns.
Yeah, here's the batch of naked clowns, and then we really blew the wallet on longfin clowns this trip, but they're just so unique. I mean, when we walk into a warehouse of clowns, we want to see the one-of-a-kind clownfish.
Onyx perks, those are my favorite.
Yeah, Andrew got this big group of these guys.
There's Amy there bagging up our clowns, but they had a shipping station.
Yeah, they had a whole room dedicated to shipping. I mean, they are shipping all over the country and on bigger orders all over the world. You can see that was more clownfish grow outs, and under that, more shark ponds.
If they had space to do it, it happened.
For sure. Yeah, it was incredible to see.
Just want to say a quick thank you, Matt and Amy, for having us down at Sustainable Aquatics. It was great to see. Really didn't grasp the scale.
Yeah, that was definitely probably, I mean, it has to be the biggest clownfish breeder in the world.
It was really, really cool to see go through. Huge thank you to having us down there, and really look forward to stopping back down real soon.
We will be back, and we will have more cool clownfish and more sharks and more fish everywhere.
Stay tuned for more fun stuff.